What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the next video in the series, How to Get Started in Real Estate Investing. Before I jump too far into this, I just want to say I appreciate you. If you are here, that means that you're either still getting value from the videos or possibly you saw me post it on social media. Regardless, I just want to say thank you for checking out the video. My goal here is to cut through a lot of the nonsense. There's a lot of noise in real estate. There's a lot of shiny objects. And unfortunately, the reality is a lot of us are guilty of ending up going down the rabbit hole of the wrong things. Now, I don't want to discourage you. I don't want to get you on the wrong track. I want to just talk to you about my experience of having done this for 10 years and what exactly I think the best starting points are for real estate investing. So if this is the first video you've stumbled on, I'd recommend going back to the first video in this playlist. I have a whole 6-step process as to what I would do to get started again if I had to start over. And then I have the 4 different types of acquisition strategies for you to get started. Today, we're going to be talking about wholesaling. So as I jump over here, I'm going to put together a quick little presentation with you guys. I think it'll make a lot of sense as I do it. If you have questions, as always, drop them in the comments below. So starting off here, what exactly is wholesaling? Wholesaling is the fastest way to make money in real estate investing without actually owning a single property, and this is one of the best ways to get started in the business, but most people unfortunately make a lot of mistakes with it. In fact, that's what I'm going to discuss today, is the common misconceptions and things that people do wrong and what I think the right way to do wholesaling is. So before we get too far in, let's just talk about it. Acquisitions is the thing that gets you in the door. In fact, I talk about this in my community. I talk about this with people that I help and teach. Acquisitions equals active income. So if you're taking notes, I would write down acquisitions equals active income. The exit strategy is how you get paid. Okay, so let's not get these two confused. I see a lot of people get off track here by saying, I'm going to go out and buy an RV park. I'm going to buy a commercial building. I'm going to buy X amount of doors, single family, and I'm just going to retire early, passive income. If only it was that easy, right? The reality is you need to get good at acquisitions first. And we talk about that in the last video in this series. So make sure again to go back and watch that if you haven't already. Active income equals acquisitions means that we have to get really good at finding these types of deals first. Once you find a good discounted property where the numbers actually make sense for an investor, suddenly, miraculously, go figure, the exit strategy presents itself based on what is going to make the most sense. Meaning, is it going to be best for a wholesale? Do you not have experience fixing and flipping? So maybe wholesaling is how you're trying to create more active income. It's a great logic. It's a great starting point. Maybe you already have experience. You're watching this right now and you don't want to wholesale. You want to go and fix and flip. You have experience in it or construction background or someone that's already fixing and flipping homes that you could rely on. Maybe that is what you want to do. Both of those strategies are active income. And if you're in the third category, you're making a bunch of money and you're just trying to go and possibly buy some properties to cash flow and offset your taxes, congratulations. We're going to get to that one in a few videos. Today is all about wholesaling. So for those that are trying to make money fast, the people that are trying to get their foot in the door, maybe you don't have a bunch of experience, this video is for you. So let's talk about what wholesaling actually is. First off, you're going to find a property where the numbers make sense. This doesn't necessarily need to be distressed. More often than not, it is. But it's a house that is not in current retail value. It is not after repair value. It is a house that needs a little bit of updating or repairs. And it is, more importantly, below market price. Before I jump into this and open up a whole can of worms and everyone's like, Ryan, MLS doesn't work. Agents don't work. This economy doesn't work, or whatever the case is. People trade speed and convenience for price. It's the same reason someone goes to a car dealership and they trade in their vehicle for $10,000, $15,000 less than what it's worth. The car dealership, you're aware, is going to sell it for a profit. But why would you sell it for less than what it's worth? Because you're already at the dealership and you're trading speed and convenience for price. People sell for discounts for all different reasons. Relocation, downsizing, death, divorce, disease, all these things that could pop up are indications as to why someone would sell. So we're finding a situation where, as an investor, the numbers make sense for us. And even more so, we're solving a problem for a homeowner that can't get the price that they're asking for, which might be retail value. So it's a win-win. Once you find those deals, you put it under contract, gaining equitable interest. This is what legally gives you the right and ability to wholesale the contracts for a profit. Once you have it under contract with equitable interest, you assign that contract to a cash buyer for a fee, aka your spread. The cool thing is you never own the property. You're selling the right to buy it. You're selling the contractual terms that are agreed upon between you and the seller, regardless if there's agents involved or not. There is an A to B contract between a buyer and a seller, which has equitable interest, the legal right to sell to another buyer. This is also known as selling the paper, selling the contract, flipping paper, whatever you might have heard from some online guru. These are people that are selling contracts for a profit. My personal opinion is that this is the best starting point in real estate investing to make over $100,000 per year. And if you do it the right way, you might even be able to get to $100,000 per month. That's not trying to get anything crazy. That's me just trying to set realistic expectations. If you're trying to get out of a 9-to-5 job, wholesaling real estate is your best starting point. To summarize, you are the middleman between a motivated seller who needs out fast and a cash buyer who wants a deal now. One of my catchphrases, again, is the hardest part of being a real estate agent is to find a client, buyer, or seller that is actually motivated, qualified, and willing to employ you. And the hardest part of being an investor is to find a deal where the numbers make sense, which is why all 4 of the acquisition strategies, direct to seller, joint venture, MLS, or agent outreach, all make sense, because if the numbers work, the investor wants a deal today. They're happy to pay you. Your job is to find the gap and get paid to connect the pieces, aka wholesaling. There are some key terms here that you just need to understand. This is more geared to someone that is brand new to the industry, or I love you guys, I could say it, the real estate agents that are just not educated on the investment deals. An assignment fee is not illegal. An assignment fee is not bad. In fact, I'm sorry to be the whistleblower, but for the brokers, the team leads, or for maybe even the managing brokers that don't want to teach this, I love you, but you are the problem. The reality is they don't teach these types of terms because there is no incentive or benefit for them to do so. Most brokerages only get paid on the commission of the deal. They don't get paid on the assignment fee, which is paid by the buyer. And with that said, to make sure I'm playing neutral, being Switzerland here, the investors might need to carry their own E&O insurance. They might need to make sure there's additional disclosures or documentation that doesn't hold the brokerage liable for the stuff that they don't get compensated on. So there is a give and take here in the relationship, but the assignment fee is not the commission. It is a fee paid by the buyer, which is in the form of assigning a contract from you to them. The assignment of contract is typically an addendum. It's a separate document outside of the purchase agreement, which is signed between the buyer and the end buyer in the transaction. So when we go under contract on these deals, we sign it as the buyer, and then we sign an assignment contract as the seller. Because we have equitable interest in the property, and depending on the state, we've even disclosed or used the additional documentation required, we are able to sell that piece of paper to another investor. Why would anybody care? Well, everyone's on the same page. Sellers getting the price that they are agreed upon with us, agents getting paid their commission, their compensation, typically by the seller. The buyer's agent, if there is one, is typically paid commission either by the buyer or the seller, and then the assignment fee is paid by the end buyer, so they get the deal and the price they're happy with. Everybody wins, everybody's on the same page, and I do recommend using state-issued contracts so it is all above board. So the assignment of contract is typically an additional document attached with the purchase agreement, not sent to the seller. ARV is after repair value. This is what the home is typically worth when it is all said and done after it is remodeled and fixed up, not to be mistaken with current condition value. A lot of real estate agents think that the property is listed at what it is worth, when the reality is they are typically listing it close to after repair value. The current condition value is what the home's current condition is, which does not align with after repairs. And then you might hear some investors say, what is the MAO? The MAO is the maximum allowable offer, which is after we've taken the ARV minus repairs, minus holding costs, closing costs, commission, and so on, and the profit, we end up with a maximum allowable offer, which is what we could pay for this deal. This is where a lot of agents get misunderstood. They're fantastic at determining after repair value. They are not the greatest at determining the cost of renovations. So it's up to us as investors to explain it, to justify it, and to obviously negotiate to a win-win price between us and the seller. So why wholesaling first? To begin, there's low capital required depending on the strategy. With the exception of going off-market direct to seller, you're probably spending a lot of money in marketing. But on the other hand, if you're going on market like what we do and you're working with real estate agents, you could truly get started for $0 out of pocket. There's no rehab required. There's no ownership risk. You actually are protected in the terms of the contract, and that's how we teach to do this, in the form of also having disclosure so everybody is aware of what our intent is on the deal. This forces you to learn the deals, the numbers, and the market fast, rather than just jumping in thinking that you're some developer or high-end quality real estate investor when you have no experience. This is how you actually get your boots on the ground. This is how you get your feet wet, and you actually start to learn what you're doing. This is also what allows you to build your buyers list organically. Make sure that you obviously go back and watch all of the videos in this playlist again, but video 1, we have this broken down for you so you can understand that finding buyers is one of the first steps we do, so we don't look like idiots or scramble when we get a deal under contract. We have intent to wholesale, we disclose it, and we have buyers lined up that are willing to purchase it. And then after that, proof of concept is your first assignment fee, which is typically the snowball effect that leads to you gaining the path to your $100,000 month or year if you're just getting started. So my disclaimer is that it's not easy, but it's accessible. I have a quote that I've put up on a few like mastermind presentations and stages at events that I've spoke at where I always talk about how this business is simple, but it's not easy. A lot of the stuff I talk about, I hope it doesn't come across like it's so easy you can just pick up a contract and start sending offers, because in fact, that's what I think most of the issues are in YouTube in general. People get a rabbit hole that they go down, and next thing you know, they're talking to a homeowner when they have zero qualification or intent to actually close on a deal, and they're just guessing. That's not what I'm talking about. The simple part is that the tasks at hand between comping properties, calling people, sending offers, and actually closing is not complex. And it can be easy the more you do it. In fact, the harder you work, the luckier you get is something we also talk about. So accessibility is the part that opens up the playing field for you to know you have a chance. The part that saying it's not easy is for me to put a disclaimer so you don't think that this task is easier than it is. But just like anything else, if I could keep throwing out cliche lines, if you put enough effort into it, it'll probably work. So the skill that you're building is deal evaluation and negotiation. That is what our time and effort is put into, which then transfers to every other exit strategy, which we will talk about in the next coming videos. Between fixing and flipping, buying and holding, and a few others that are higher level, the cool thing here is that wholesaling is actually the gateway to a skill set that you may or may not already have. So just a quick little overview, broad conversation here. The wholesaling process, we are going to find a motivated seller, pick one of the 4 acquisition strategies we talked about, referencing in the last video, run the numbers, which is ARV minus repairs, minus closing costs, holding costs, commissions, minus the desired profit on the deal, equals your maximum allowable offer on the transaction. Get the property under contract. I recommend using a state-issued contract. Obviously, make sure you have whatever disclosures are needed. Market to your buyers list when you're in your inspection period, assign the contract, and then close and collect your assignment fee. That is the 6-step process of wholesaling. It is that cut and dry. There is no aha moment or wait, there's more, you need to go do X, Y, Z. This is as simple as it gets, and this is the 6-step overview. Some of the common mistakes and misconceptions I see in wholesaling real estate is that you think you need a license. Now, making sure I'm very clear on covering my bases and I don't get any fun like little letters in the mail, you need to know your state laws. There are some states like Arizona that require you to have a disclosure in a House Bill Form 2747 that specifies I'm a wholesale buyer or seller on the contract. There are some states like Illinois that only allow you to go and do X amount of transactions before needing a license. And there are even some states like South Carolina where it is pretty much impossible to wholesale unless you actually take the property down via wholesale, potentially double close, depending on how you structure it. So I say all of that to say, know your state laws first, because there are most states out there that are in the form of disclosure being required or coming soon. I do believe you should have a license. That's a conversation, a video for another day, but you do not need a license to start. Just make sure to check off that you're doing it legally. Second, assigning a bad deal and losing a buyer relationship is something that I see people do all day, every day. Because they didn't have buyers lined up first, because they're trying to do this nationwide or in multiple markets, before you know it, they're doing this strategy sloppy, they're building relationships only to torch them, and now their reputation is something that is known as a bad wholesaler. I don't want you to be that person. I want you to be known as a real estate investor. Wholesaling is just one of your exit strategies. Not having a buyer's list lined up before you lock up a contract is another problem. Because you don't have a buyer, you're scrambling from acquisition to disposition, the exit strategy, and now you're losing what we say is momentum, and there's a switching cost going from act to dispo back and forth. You'll never gain momentum to be consistent, which then leads to you being this up and down real estate agent or investor, which is not a fun place to be. A lot of agents I see confuse ARV with list price. I think that agents are great at running what ARV is, but they're not usually great at running what renovation costs are. So unfortunately, that leads to a misconception that is that a house is worth more than it is. And I'm not talking about the agents that get pushed over by the sellers, just listing it at the price they want. I'm talking about the agents that truly think the price they are listing it at is what the home is worth. And then this is probably going to sound like a sales pitch. It's not meant to. But joining the wrong mentorship or community or mastermind is just not in your best form of like steps. What I see here, and I'm guilty of it too, I've invested a lot of money into other mentorships where you're just a number. You don't have direct access to the people at the top. You end up learning a bunch of strategies that are exit rather than acquisition. And so before you've even gained any clarity of what to do successfully, you're down the wrong rabbit hole, being taught the wrong things with lack of support. And before you know it, you're out the same amount of money that you could have put into marketing. So if I could just put one note here, make sure the communities you join, you have access to ask for help, and it's not you being pushed to somebody else. It's you actually getting the ability to ask the person that is doing the thing that's teaching. I do have a real estate investing school. Sorry, this is a little bit of a pitch here, but if you guys are wanting to learn more about the information, at least on an overview level, I've got options that are monthly that start at like $23. So you can check it out. It'll be right here. Real estate investing, school.com/real estate investing. You can check it out. It'll also be in the description. Check it out month to month, cancel it anytime. There's a lot of cool resources and opportunities to get started. My goal here is really to just keep doing these YouTube videos so I can provide as much value and, more importantly, clarity on what to do next in the business. The next video will be talking about fixing and flipping, when to do it, how not to do it. And hopefully you guys are, again, still getting some value. If you guys got some value in this video, make sure to drop a comment below. I feel like such a YouTuber right now, but like, subscribe, or whatever else you're supposed to do. Check out our real estate investing school. And most importantly, I appreciate you. Thanks for checking out our videos. Hopefully you guys like it.